So it's our first day on this voyage from Alaska down to Seattle. And our very first morning, we wake up with an incredible humpback whale just breaching, flipper flopping, just showing off every body part possible. And now it's our first afternoon, and we've got brown bears. We've got lots of brown bears. They're fishing, catching salmon right here. They're in the waterfall. There's big ones, little ones. What a first day, it's incredible. Bears, right there.
Oh, it's been incredible. We've been watching one bear catching fish, and then two others came as it went, and now a great big one has arrived and frightened the younger ones away. Presumably they're younger, but they've come back further down the stream now, so we're just sitting here watching and loving every moment of it. Unbelievable.
The big one.
We're pretty close, aren't we, Dan? Close, like, yes, a half a block away. So close that you feel like you just wander up and, oh, hi bear. But no, it's fantastic to think that we have the opportunity of doing something like this in the wild nature. It's just fantastic, an experience that will stay there forever, I'm sure.
Yeah, so these are brown bears, or coastal brown bears, relative of the grizzly, which lives in the interior. And these get much, much bigger because they're eating salmon. They've been eating salmon for a few hours now, just over and over. They don't really pay much attention to us because they're so into fishing that we can just sit here and very safely watch them.
It's just incredible out here. It feels like it feels primordial, like you're just really seeing the world before man came along, and it's amazing. Never been this close to bears, and never been this close to whales, and it's really something special. It really is.
Today we're at Pavlov Harbor. I like to come here towards the end of the trip, kind of a grand finale. This particular spot is a part of the Alaska State Park lands. It's got a waterfall, salmon run. Especially at this time of the year, we get salmon running and the bears coming in and they're feeding, and it's a great chance for us to get a little closer than we might normally to watch these magnificent creatures do what they're doing.
We saw Mama with her two cubs, and one cub was more independent and going around checking things out. The other stayed closer to Mama and not moving much.
I just love watching bears and cubs. Coastal brown bears. Today we're on the island of Chichagof, and we saw some mothers and cubs and a couple males in there feeding on salmon.
Then there's this great mama bear a little further down, and she was fishing in there, and her cubs, it was interesting to watch. They just stood in the same place off on the shoreline, you know, as near as they could be on the shoreline, but they weren't moving around, they weren't venturing any place. And then across the base of the waterfall was this big old brown bear, huge guy. And he was chilling and fishing too. Man, looking through the binoculars and the clarity of the rock and the birds and the bears and this beautiful, beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for a more beautiful day to do this. We're a creature too. We're part of nature. We're the worst predator on the planet. And to sit and remind ourselves that there's something much greater than our material possessions and the striving we all do and the busyness of our lives. And I think it's a shame more people don't get to experience what we've been privileged to experience on this cruise.
This morning we went across in the rubber boats for a walk right up a salmon stream.
These areas are what give Southeast Alaska the nutrients and the life. This forest is so rich because of the salmon. The salmon go into the ocean for 1, 2, 3, sometimes depending on the species, up to 7 years, gathering nutrients in the ocean, and then when they come back to spawn in the streams and lakes, they are eaten by a lot of animals, including bears, the bald eagles, the ravens. A lot of animals disperse the nutrients the salmon bring back into the forest.
And then on our way back down again, when the groups had actually gathered together, there was a bear. And the radios were going backwards and forwards and the kayaks were converging on the spot. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
We just transited through Bering Strait and a particularly narrow part that's called Sergius Narrows. We really have to time our arrival here so that we either have a slack tide or one that's a little bit on the bow, because the currents are so strong that if they're on our stern, we can't maintain steerage. We're going to pop out of the narrows here pretty quick to an area where we may actually see some humpback whale activity. And we could see some cooperative bubble net feeding. This is where family groups actually get together and dive, and they blow bubbles which concentrate the fish, and then they come in underneath and the fish get trapped against the surface. They can't go any higher, and the whales get big mouthfuls of fish.
That was really intense. That was really cool. Oh my gosh! Absolutely amazing.
We now know that these individuals each occupy exactly the same spot in the hunting circle every time they feed together.
So we dropped the hydrophone down into the water, and it's a live microphone, so it's picking up their songs that they're singing underwater. Usually there's one humpback whale that'll sing a song, and that coordinates all of the humpbacks to come up and feed together.
So between the intensity of the sound increasing and where the birds are on the water, you can get a pretty good idea of when and where they're about to come up and feed.
Oh yeah, no, that was it. I saw it. Wow. Oh, that was cool.
Now, there are only a couple other places in the world that this type of foraging behavior has been observed, and this is the only place in the world where it actually occurs with family members.